Hello, everyone. My name is Liam, and I work for Matrix Games in Slytherin as a brand manager. With me today is the developer of Nuclear War Simulator, Ivan Stepanov. Ivan, thank you for appearing on the show today. For the uninitiated, what is Nuclear War Simulator?
So, hello everyone. Hello Liam. Thank you for the introduction. Yes, the Nuclear War Simulator is a visualization and simulation tool for large-scale nuclear conflicts, and it is a sandbox. It is actually not really a game, as there are no objectives. It doesn't tell you what to do, but it is possible to design large-scale nuclear conflicts with it and to simulate the dynamics of such conflicts. So this is what you see now on the screen. The delivery systems are simulated in a realistic manner, and it is possible to calculate the consequences of such a conflict. The simulation is based on real-world data, so the delivery systems are modeled realistically. The data of what is happening on the ground is modeled realistically. So there is a high resolution population density map. This is what you see as a yellow color on this map. And the effects on the population and on individuals are simulated realistically based on Cold War models. Uh, these models are integrated into the simulation and everything is calculated automatically. So, to my knowledge, this is the most realistic simulation for nuclear conflicts available to the public today. And uh, it is based on scientific models, but at the same time, I'm trying to make it as intuitive as possible by creating a UI that is adapted to computer games, so it is familiar to most users. And what you see now on the screen is a simulation of effects on individuals, where you can place yourself, your family, your friends on the map, and you can see effects on yourself as individuals and on the whole country. So you can calculate fatalities based on this high resolution density map, and you can visualize the results. You can see the fatalities density right now, and you can visualize the physical effects like fallout in this case. And you can see the fallout is following the wind direction. The wind is also based on real world data. There is a uh, model for wind, there is a model for fires. This is what you see right now. And individuals and population are affected by all these effects. Yeah, Liam?
So, if you can give us a little bit of background, why did you choose to develop Nuclear War Simulator?
Sure. So the main motivation to create Nuclear War Simulator was the lack of such simulation uh, available to the public. I was interested in this topic since my childhood because I grew up in Kazakhstan, in Semipalatinsk, which is close to the uh, most, to the famous nuclear weapon test site of the Soviet Union, where the Soviet Union tested most of their nuclear weapons. And there is a culture of dealing with the humanitarian consequences of nuclear weapons testing in this city. And I was reading about this topic since I was a childhood. I was collecting newspaper articles. Uh, it is the topic that motivated me to study physics later on. And at some point, I was seeing that there is no simulation that does this kind of calculations available to the public except NukeMap. And first, I was trying to mod some existing games like DEFCON, but I didn't come very far with this approach. So I decided to create such a simulation myself. And I think this topic is a very important one. I think that nuclear weapons is the most or the biggest danger to the human civilization today. And I hope that this simulation will, on one hand, be an educational tool for the general public, and on the other hand, the simulation is used by in academia to do some serious research because the models are realistic. For example, especially the Fallout model, it is actually coupled with a high-split particle transport simulation, so it can be used for serious research, and hopefully it will contribute to finding a solution to this problem one day. And at the same time, it will um, educate people in an interactive and maybe somewhat entertaining way, similar to how games do it. And games are a big part of the culture today. Yeah.
You're clearly knowledgeable and passionate about the topic. What scenarios are currently included right now for Nuclear War Simulator?
Yes, so there are a bunch of scenarios that are pre-delivered with the simulation. So you new users don't have to start from scratch. There are scenarios demonstrating delivery systems. There are scenarios demonstrating the current arsenals. This is what you see on the screen right now. And there are scenarios that are developed by other users. So there is modding support integrated with the simulation, so you can upload your scenarios to to the internet, and you can subscribe to scenarios created by other users. And of course, you can create your own scenarios. Yeah.
So, how can users create their own scenarios? Do you have a scenario editor in the game?
Exactly. So the editor to create new scenarios is one of the biggest parts of the simulation. This is what you see right now on the screen. To make it easier, uh, there are object groups. This is what you see right now. So with a couple of clicks, you can add all nuclear weapons of the United States on their realistic locations. You can add military bases. Here you see military bases in Europe, then NATO bases or American bases in Europe with tactical nuclear weapons that are stationed in Europe. Then you can place individual objects. This is what we see right now. You can simply click on the map and add. Uh, Now we're adding military bases, but we can also add uh, here are silos, and you can see silos are already distributed over an area, similar to how they are distributed in real world. And now we do the same for Russia. We go to object groups, we click nuclear weapons all, and with two clicks, all nuclear weapons of Russia are on the map and can be used to create this new scenario. And now we can either select individual units to assign targets to them. So we see now we're targeting the individual delivery systems. You see we give targets to warheads, and you can see the elliptical area on the map where individual warheads can be targeted. And now we are targeting some city. We are targeting Denver. In the United States, we see the circles represent the extent of the physical effects on the population. And now we're targeting the silo, the Minuteman silo fields close to Cheney. So now this attack plan was created and can be executed. And for this scenario, there is also AI being enabled. So we have created a small attack plan which will get everything going. You can see the trajectories of the missiles. Now we execute the attack plan. It is a relatively small attack plan, but the AI will react to this, and you will see an escalation going on. So the AI reacted to this attack. Now the Russian AI reacts to this attack, and we see an increase in in the scale of attacks. So uh, in this case, the AI serves as a simple opponent that reacts to being attacked and to generate such scenarios. So this is one way to create scenarios, just to let the AI do the plan generation, but you can also do everything yourself. There are tools to automate distribution of warheads on military objects, on civilian targets, and of course, if you have the time, you can do everything by hand. You can take every warhead. There is a dial a yield options. You can set the altitude of the detonation, and you can really go into detail how you create these attack plans. Yeah, yeah.
Sounds very in depth. How far does nuclear war simulators damage modeling go? How deep and granular is damage to infrastructure and the environment modeled?
Yeah. So the physical effects of nuclear weapons is the main strength of the simulation. The simulation models most of the most important effects of nuclear weapons. So what we now see is the fallout. There are two fallout models in the simulation. One is a very fast one, so that can be calculated real time. But what we see on the screen now is the high split simulation. High split is a professional particle transport simulation based on the real world wind data. So when we have a detonation, the nuclear war simulator generates a distribution of fallout particles, and these fallout particles are then transported by the wind and deposited. So we get a very realistic distribution of fallout. Then we have fires. This is what we see now. Different colors represent how many buildings were burned out after the detonation. So you see some fires emerging and overlapping. And we see other effects like overpressure. This is blue. Thermal radiation, red. So this is that would give burns to the skin. And we have ionizing radiation. This is yellow. And for these effects, you can set the visualizations. You can change which kinds of thresholds you want to display, and this way you can simulate the effects and you can analyze the results. Then the effects on infrastructure are models. So what we see now are refineries. Data is from including the now we see the power plants. We see different colors representing different types of power plants. Red are nuclear power plants, brown are fossil fuel power plants, green are renewable energy power plants, and all this data is imported from real-world databases. So which type, how much capacity it has, and by destroying these objects, you can analyze how much of the capacity of energy output of refining capacity would be destroyed in a conflict. Then we have civilian airports, which can also be attacked in a conflict because they can base military planes. Then we have harbors, which are also very important for the infrastructure and may be attacked. And we have hospitals, so they will not be attacked per se, but they will be destroyed when there is an attack, especially on a city. So right now you can see that after the attack, some hospitals are in the area of the detonation and are now gray, which means they are destroyed. So you can see where there were casualties, where there are hospitals which are destroyed, where there are hospitals that are left. So you can kind of estimate what would be the situation for the people on the ground, which then try to find some medical care. And what we see now is the summary of the results. We see how much of the refineries were destroyed, how much of the capacity was lost, and this way you can see the effects on the uh, on the infrastructure. And then finally, we have the effects on individuals. So you can place yourself on the map. You can change the name, the image. So we don't see the images there. You can move on the map. And moving on the map, we will see that this person is moving through a heavily irradiated area. So this person now is heavily affected by fallout. The color now is representing the activity of the fallout, and we see that the survival chances are decreasing as long as the person is moving on foot. Now we take shelter, and we will see that the exposure, the dose rate is now decreased. So this way you can use the simulation to kind of simulate your escape plan from the detonations. So you can just see what is optimal solution: hiding or running away. Yeah.
So you mentioned Minutemen silos earlier. How are different delivery systems modeled in the game?
Yes. So Minutemen silos are just one of the many systems that can be simulated in the game. You can design the systems yourself. You can start by designing a warhead, placing this warhead on a missile, on a ballistic missile, cruise missile, or gravity bomb, and then placing these missiles on a platform. Like in this case, uh, it is a mobile unit Pershing 2, and it has all kinds of values like movement speed, hardness, how hard it is to destroy these units, and so on, how fast it reacts. And here we again see the Minuteman silos firing the missiles. Um, the silos uh, have a specific behavior, how they start the missiles with the launch control centers. And now we see the ballistic missiles moving to the targets. So the missiles are modeled including a boosting phase where they accelerate, followed by uh, an elliptical trajectory. So this elliptical trajectory is modeled in a realistic way. So the timing is also realistic. And we see that now the missiles are releasing their warheads, and the warheads are now falling to the ground. In this case, there is only one warhead per missile, but there can also be many. And by designing these trajectories in a realistic way, first the timing of the conflict is realistic, and also the missile detection by radar can be modeled in a realistic way. And if you look carefully, you will see that the red warheads turn yellow for a brief amount of time before the impact. This is where they enter the atmosphere and where you could actually see the warheads from the ground. So now we see submarine launching ballistic missiles. You can see there is not one missile, but there are many, and there is a delay between the launches. There is about 10 seconds delay, and now all the missiles are traveling to the targets, again on a ballistic trajectory. And each missile is now releasing the warheads. We have about 6 warheads for each missile, which now uh, uh, travel to the targets. And each warhead can be targeted individually. However, there is a limitation. There is an elliptical area on the ground where they can be targeted. So this aspect of the targeting is also modeled in a realistic way. Um,
It's
yep.
I was just going to say, it's hard to play this game and not be moved when you see the damage and death these weapons can cause. Is there anything in particular you want to draw out from people surrounding the topic of nuclear weapons?
Um, so um, the the simulation itself is very is it lacks it doesn't try to create any emotion, so there is by default even no music in the simulation. And it is not like defcon. So in defcon you can, when you play it, there is actually an emotional appeal where in the end of the um, of an exchange, you can hear that somebody is crying, but there is nothing like this in the nuclear war simulator. Um, eh, or there is not, or it is not similar to games like this War of Mine, where you have a real emotion, also a real emotional appeal. Um, and instead, I'm trying to display the data as it is without providing a solution or providing an emotional reaction. So instead, people um, yeah, can just see the results and form their own opinion. And yeah, so my own opinion is that nuclear weapons are a big problem, and we need a solution to this problem. But I don't provide a solution myself. Instead, the users have to make their own conclusions. Uh, yeah.
Well, I have to say that even if it is just dry data, it is very compelling playing through it and seeing the potential outcomes of these conflicts. It is compelling when it is just the data. Um, Nuclear winters and cooling from firestorm ash are modeled in the game. For the science behind all of these models, where did you primarily draw from?
Mhm. Yes, so there is a nuclear winter model in the game, and it is based on the publications of Brian and Toon. These are the leading researchers on this topic, and the model uh, simulates um, how the thermal radiation of the nuclear explosion would ignite cities, and it simulates how much fuel is there uh, where these fires are burning. So, for example, there are estimations of how much combustible materials is there in cities depending on how many people are living there. There is an estimation of how much every one of us is storing on wood, plastics, and all this stuff would burn in fires, and it would create soot. Uh, so it can be estimated how much soot would be generated and how much of this soot would then uh, go to the stratosphere. So when the fires are burning, it creates a very intensive updraft of air into the stratosphere, and then all this soot is transported into the stratosphere where it cannot rain out and it would block the sun. So um, there is a factor that affects the efficiency of this transport, and it there are some disagreements in the scientific community how effective this process would be. So um, there are assumptions. We know that uh, the effect of global cooling is real. That uh, we have the effects of the Tambora volcanic eruption, where uh, we know that there was a cooling leading to a famine because there was no crops growing. Actually, in my city, Stuttgart in Germany, there is a whole festival around this topic where after this, with no summer, uh, the famine was over and there was food again and people were celebrating it. But there are disagreements how effective this process of transporting the soot into the stratosphere would be. And the nuclear war simulator is solving this uncertainty by making all the parameters tunable. So you can tune how much fuel is available for each person. You can tune how effective this process of transporting the soot into the stratosphere would be, and you can uh, tune how effective would be, yeah, all of these processes. And the nuclear war simulator itself doesn't run a real climate simulation like Brian and Toon did. So this is what you see here. You can actually, this is not the nuclear war simulator. These are results of the simulation by Brian and Toon. Um, but the nuclear war simulator takes these results and it interpolates between the points. So for a specific amount of soot, there is a specific amount of cooling, and the nuclear war simulator will just take this cooling and interpolate between. Yeah, Liam?
Um, what new features were added in your latest update?
Yes, so there were a number of updates since the release, and there were a large number of improvements. A number of bugs were fixed. The UI was improved, and the latest update included updates to the UI. So this is what you see right now. It was uh, made more flexible, so you can visualize different effects in a more flexible way. So you can disable some effects completely. So you can here you can visualize only the effects you want to see, like overpressure. Then improvements to animations was done. Animations of burning cities. It was improved. Some issues were fixed, and large improvements to the Fallout simulation were done. So one new layer of data was added to improve the simulation. So here you can see the average building height layer for New York. And in the nuclear war simulator, this building height data is used to estimate the protection that people in this area would have from fallout. So if you are living in some rural areas, you will have only small buildings available to you. So your protection factors will be small. But if you're living in somewhere in New York, there are a lot of very tall buildings, so you will have a very good protection from radiation. And see here on the bottom right, you see a table of these protection factor distributions. So you can make your own distributions of protection factors depending on preparedness of people. And another improvement was to the quality of the wind data. So a new GFS wind data model was added, and this model has much higher resolution than what we had before, so it can be used to run simulations that are more realistic. So you will have a much finer detail of where the fallout is going, where it is raining out, and small changes of wind direction will have uh, more effect. So the um, the Fallout simulation was improved in the latest update. Yeah.
I understand. Uh, Ivan Stepanov, thank you for speaking with us today. War Simulator is available for sale on Steam and on the Matrix Store.
All right. Liam, thank you very much for the interview, and everyone, thanks for listening to us. And see you on Discord, Twitter, or on Steam. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.